All right, we are ready for day 4 and we are going to construct our bodice. The first thing we're going to do is we're looking at the neckline of our bodice here. We're going to base the front neckline using a long stay stitch with a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. So all the way around here. All right, let's do that. I'll be right back. Here's our neckline. We are going to clip the corners of our placket opening on the bodice. You do not want to clip through the stitches, you just want to clip up to them, as close as you can to them without going through. All right, now we're going to place our back bodice piece right side together with our front bodice piece, and we are going to clip our shoulders together and also our side seams. Those are the next 2 steps. All right, once we've clipped them together, we're going to head to our sewing machine. We're going to stitch our shoulder seams first, and then we'll stitch our side seams. All right, now we've completed our bodice. We're gonna move on to installing our hood. After this, we will install the shawl collar. So let me grab my hood. All right, so let's take our hood, and this is one side. This is the short end, and then we have our zippered end, all right? Okay, what we're gonna do is we're going to place this on top of this. Now the raw edge of the zipper will meet the raw edge here of this piece. It won't overlap, it won't come over, all right? So we're going to line up our raw edges here. And notice that our zipper is right side up. Oopsies. All right, we just want to make sure that everything is looking good. I'm just going to clip this over here so it just stays put. All right, now here's what it looks like on the front. Here's what it looks like on the back. There we go. All right, the zipper tape goes all the way to the edge of the fabric there. Now what she suggests using wash away wonder tape here. That's probably wise. I'm going to add some just right here. It just keeps the zipper stuck where it's supposed to be, since some of these pieces can be fiddly. Now I'm going to base the bottom edge of this from this end all the way through the zipper to the other end. Just being careful when you're going over this. You want to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance across the bottom here. Now it says on the unsewn side of the zipper, we've already done this, I put wash away wonder tape on the back to hold the zipper in place. It says match the side without the zipper and baste hood pieces together. So right here, we're going to baste those pieces together. Okay, here we are. So far, so good. We're basted here, and we're basted here, and we're taped here. Let's grab our bodice, and we're going to turn it right side out. Okay, now we are working on connecting our hood to our bodice here. We've got this straight edge that we're working with. What we're going to do is we're going to place our hood placket upside down, so it's going to be where the hood itself is facing toward you. The hood itself is pointing towards the bottom of your top, okay? And it's right side down, okay? This is the right side. Okay, you're going to line that up with this squared edge here, right? So it says right sides together on the bottom here of the bodice opening. Okay, just like this. And you're going to clip in place. Don't worry too much about your zipper. We'll get to that later. All right, now we're going to head to the sewing machine and we're going to baste across just this this edge here. Now it's easier if you baste it from the wrong side, because then you can see where your clipped corners are and you can stitch right up to those clipped corners, which is what I'm going to do. So I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are. We've got this all done. If I flip my hood up, it looks like this. I'm going to turn my hood wrong side out. So it's kind of the wrong side, or the edge that we stitched is here, and our hood is totally wrong side out. That's going to be helpful. I'm going to match up the center of the back bodice with the center of the center hood piece. Okay, so make sure we're grabbing the raw edges. All right, so we've got that matched up. Now let's start here at this corner where the zipper is. We're going to turn the hood because this raw edge has to match up with the raw edge of our opening here. And continue to match up those raw edges. All right, I'm going to the other side of the placket that we basted, and I'm lining up those raw edges there too. So right at that corner, we want to make sure we get that corner in. Okay, voila, we are right sides together. We are ready to head to our serger or our sewing machine. It's up to you. Feel free to use as many clips or pins as you think you might need. I'm definitely going to use a couple extra, or at least one extra at the zipper. Everything else looks pretty good. Okay, so it kind of, I know this just looks like a pile of fabric. Here's the front, here's the opening. You can see we've got everything matched up. There we go. Over here, everything matched up. Okay, so now we're going to baste all the way around the neckline. Okay, now let's turn everything right side out. And let's take a look at how we've done here. It looks pretty decent. You just want everything looking clean and fabulous. And it does. It looks super, super nice. We took our time. We did it right. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to re-sew the sides and around the back of the neckline and the bottom with a serger or a straight stitch. I'm going to use a serger, and we're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. This would be the time that we're going to snip off that excess zipper. So I'm pulling this through. Okay, so we've got the raw edges all sticking out here. Now grab a pair of old scissors, trim off that extra. All right, so I'm going to go across the bottom and the sides and all the way around with a regular straight stitch. Okay, you can do not a long straight stitch because this is the final stitch line around here, or with a serger. I'm going to use a serger. Let's get that done. Okay, let's trim off our excess threads. All right, nice and finished looking on the inside. Everything lovely on the outside. Let's take a look. Okay. Now you saw that as I was sewing, I unzipped this zipper a little bit. I needed to get past it just so my presser foot didn't get caught. Okay, so we've got that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to edge stitch the seam allowance down all the way around the front of the bodice placket. So literally all the way around we're going to edge stitch, or we're going to top stitch there. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, I'm sorry, I totally forgot to press record for stitching this, but what I want to tell you is that I started in the back. Hold on here, there we go. I started in the back, like the center of the hood, and I went around one side and then stopped and did my pivoting. Came here, stopped, pivoted, stopped. Now this was zipped all the way up. Once I got to about here, I lifted my presser foot and I unzipped it, so it just made it easier for me to get by. So we are all done with our hood and placket area. All right, now let's move on to the shawl collar. I've already got the bodice all put together. Turn this right side out. All right, I did the basting around here and I clipped the corners just like we did with our hood. All right, next what we're going to do is we're going to lay the shawl collar out in front of us. We're going to take our non-zipper side on the right side and we're going to flip that side over and center it. So flip it over and center it. Okay. Now we're going to do the same with the zipper side. We're flipping it toward the center, lining up the bottom of the placket pieces, and we're going to pin in place. So just like this. We're going to baste along the bottom using a straight stitch. This is very similar to what we did with, well, this is exactly the same as we did with the hood, okay? And you want the raw edge of your zipper to meet the raw edge of the other side of the placket. So I'm just kind of putting that there. So now I'm gonna go, make sure everything is lined up the way it should be. And it is. Now I'm gonna go and I'm going to stitch across here. Okay, so here's our placket. Before we move any further, I want to get this zipper tacked down so it's not bothering me. All right, so that's not going anywhere. Good. Now, grab your bodice. You're going to take your shawl and you're going to flip it over so the shawl is facing you, or the bottom of your shirt. And now we're going to line up this raw edge with this raw edge. Okay, don't worry about the zipper. We'll take care of that in a minute. All right, now I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to baste across here using a long straight stitch and a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just like the hood, I basted on the wrong side so that I could get as close to those clipped corners as possible. So that when I went to my sewing machine, the wrong side was up. You can just see better that way. All right, now let's turn our bodice inside out. Now I want to find the center of my back bodice of the neckline there. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do now that I've got the center here, the center of my back bodice, you can see I've got a center seam here that's going to line up there eventually. So we're going to turn this way, and then we're going to grab one corner and I'm going to turn the whole thing, and I'm going to start matching up the raw edges. And so your collar's going to come inside, inside your bodice, because right sides are going together. All right, and see, there's my seam and there's my center of my back bodice. Now I'm going to go stop there once I've hit center and go back to the front on the other side and start matching those up. Now my wash away wonder tape has come undone. There we go. So you're going to match those up. A couple extra clips if you need to, and we're going to keep going all the way around. Now there are notches that I cut out from the pattern piece that show us where they line up to the shoulder seams. There we go, on both sides. Okay, so here we are. Let's get this in here. Okay, so it's kind of hard to look at. So here's what we've got. We've got our hole right here, and we are all the way around. We're basted here and we are clipped all the way around. Okay, add more clips where you think you need them. More, just because you need to use more is not a bad thing. Do what you need to do to make you feel like you're secure here. All right, now I'm going to go around here and I'm going to baste it all on. Okay, and I'll be right back. I'm going to turn it right side out. I'm going to make sure everything is looking good. everything does look pretty good. Now you notice, and I forgot to tell you before I started sewing, that as I got to this point, I did lift my presser foot and I did unzip this so that it was easier to get by since I wasn't using a zipper foot. Everything looks great. Okay, all my corners look decent. We are good to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-sew all of this using my serger just like I did the hood. We've got the outside edge of our collar and then we've got this here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut off my excess zipper. And I'm going to serge. You can use a straight stitch here and you can just stitch with a regular stitch length all the way around. I'm going to serge. We're going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance and I'm going to serge across the bottom and all the way around the neckline. And I'll be right back. I just need to clip off some threads here and we have got our collar all finished. Almost. We just want to make sure everything looks the way it should. We don't want any puckers or anything weird. Nope. So now we're going to go back and top stitch or edge stitch this all the way around. I'm going to start at the back and go around and down and stop and across and around. When I get to here, I'm going to stop and I'm going to mess with my zipper a little bit so that I can get it, you know, over and around that area without the zipper being in my way. Okay, so here we are. Our collar is looking awesome and we are done with both the collar and the hood bodices and attaching everything. We are ready to move on to day 5.